Hello everyone, this is Sherry and you're watching Lessons Learned. Hello everyone, we are back to our scrappy quilt along with Darlene, and we have the block dimensions and diagrams for block 9 and 10 on her website. So go there and get those, and I'm going to start cutting. Let's go sew. I fooled you, didn't I? So here's the block, not sewn together yet, on my little ironing pad thing here by my machine. So this time I'm going to show you how I put this together, how I sew it together. Have my little iron here so I can iron my pieces open as I do my seams. And I believe what she did last time was these two, here, these two, then these two, and those went together. This one and this one, these two, this one, this one, this one, and then this one to that one, and then this whole thing to that. Something like that. Let's get started. So what I'm going to do, take my two front sides, fold them over like this together, lay them on top of each other, line them up really, really good. And then on my machine, I have what's called a 1/4 inch foot. It's got a little fence on it. You put your needle position right in the center, goes in that slot, and then from here to here is exactly 1/4 inch. And that little foot, that little fence I should say, your material just glides along that and keeps it in line. And that way you always have perfect 1/4 inch seams. Okay. So again, I'm going to check and make sure I've got it together right. Just stick the edge of the fabric right about where the needle's going to come down. Reach a tiny bit forward. Drop your needle down. Start to sew forward and then back one. Sometimes it goes two. And then just keep going forward as you get to the end. Go backwards a couple of stitches again. And that way, here I'm cutting my thread on the little razor here, little cutter. Mine's dull. And then I go ahead and my tails from where I started, I go ahead and clip those off with my clippers. And that way it keeps everything neat along the way. You can go back later and clip all those, but it's easier for me to just do it now. Okay, so now you open that up, and there's your right sides together with your clean seam. So you can take your seam allowance and either open it like this and press it, or you can push it forward that way or this way. The general rule of thumb, and there's no real rules, is to press the seam towards the darkest fabric. Sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. But throughout the whole block, you'll have a good variety of direction on your seams to where they won't get too thick under there. Okay, so there's our first one. Here we go again. Right sides together. Make sure they're exactly even. That's why accurate cutting is so important. Here we go again. Just rest it up against that little fence that I spoke about. Let's start again. Now you don't have to back up the stitch if you don't want to, but I like to do that because when you're working with little seams like this, and this end's open and this end's open, and then you're finger pressing it and then pressing it with the iron, sometimes it just, you know, wants to open too much. So we'll go ahead and, you know, since this one went towards the dark side, I'm going to do this one towards the orange, so that when they go together, one will be on this side and one will be on this side and one on this side. And that way you won't have too much thickness in one spot. Okay, so now I'm going to join these two together. Go to your edge. Look at where these are going to come out to, because you want them to be right exactly on there as best you can. Looks like my green piece, this green piece is going to be a little, you know what? I think I'm going to turn that like that instead. That way I don't have two greens stacked on top of each other. So in that case, we don't even have to worry about how we iron this, because they won't be up against each other. Okay, so let's do these two together like this. Now it doesn't matter which side that you sew from, you're going to do this edge, but I would just look at it and say, okay, this is going down, this is pointing down. It'd be easier to sew that way than to sew this way and potentially open that up like that where it's already pressed towards the other direction. So I'm going to do it this way. This side. And go again. Up against the fence. Back up. Go forward. You can get to where you're going faster at it, like I was doing there. I've just been sewing a long time. So this one won't be exactly like her pattern. Be just a little bit different because of the way I did those. This way and this way instead of this one on top of that one. Okay? So let's see here, what do we have? Let's do this to this. We know that's going to happen. So here we go. And see, as you have those 1/4 inch seams, and everything's going to start matching up real good. You know, you don't want to like accidentally like turn it up like that or down like this. I'm going to get right on the edge. And I'm going to sew this side because of this. I want that to go down. If I sewed this side, I could potentially open that. So let's do this. Always good to double check, make sure you got your right sides together. always have a little trash can over to the right side here of me, so I could put those threads in there. Now that we have so many little intersections here, I'm going to press this one towards, instead of pressing it up this way, I'm going to distribute some of that weight downward. And so I'm going to press that towards this bigger piece. There we go. All right. Let's do this one. Do this one. Right sides together. If one piece, like this piece right here, looks like I've cut it just a itty bitty bit too long. So instead of putting it up to the edges, that corner there, and then having an 1/8 of an inch left, I want to split the difference and put it like a 1/16 and a 1/16. Won't hurt a thing. And that way when we go to trim our blocks, finished blocks, when we go to trim them, we won't have to trim so much off. And we can be accurate that way. Okay, there's that. I think I will press that one down this way. Now what should we do? I'm thinking these two would be good. Right sides together. Cutting's pretty accurate. It's got like a 64th on each side. It won't matter. I would say if you've got more than a 1/4 of an inch difference on those, you should probably go back and revisit the pattern and see if maybe you just cut the block the wrong size to start with. So let's see, let's press it towards the dark. Oops. There we go. And then now we're going to put this one to this one. And once we get that done, then this one will go to that one. This one will go up here, and then the whole thing will go over to that one. I'm just going to do all that in one fell swoop for you. See this again? I have one going up this way, and then the other, if either way I turned it, it's going to be up. So I'm just going to have to be really careful. And I can also use a stiletto to kind of guide this upwards so that it doesn't fall down on me. Just kind of hold it down with this. You can also use a skewer or, you know, any sort of object that you have that would be tiny enough to kind of go a little bit under your foot, but not under your needle, of course. Not much I can do about watching for this other than just kind of feel, kind of get ready for it, because I'm sewing on this side. But this is back here on this side. I don't want it to flip up either. But it is underneath and being held down. And so I just kind of want to feel as that's going through that it is still towards me, downward. Okay, so now we have our yellow piece down here that can attach. And this one's going downward. And if you look, I've got about 1/8 of an inch there. I could trim that off. Hold on a second. I got a little board on here I can trim that off with. I always have a second set of tools over by my machine. Because that will not go under that fence on the foot. It will. You can force it under there, but you might get all kinds of puckering. In a pinch, I might try it, but normally I wouldn't do that. Okay, so right sides together. And on some of these fabrics, it's hard to tell what the right side is. So really take a good look, because you don't want to have to unsew all of this after you did all that hard work. Okay, so that's a lot better. I'm going to trim that off. As you go along, you might have to realign on a long seam like this. You can certainly pin it. I hate pins. I always stab myself in the cuticles with pins. So if you're scared it's going to slide around on you, use pins. Just be careful not to poke yourself like I always do. Okay, so let's see how these are going. I think I'll make it go down this way. So I'll just kind of pull it like that, and that just yanks it downward the way I want it. Okay, so because of my pretty accurate cutting this time, turned out pretty good, right? All right, so we got 2 going upwards. We got 1 going up and 2 going down. So I'm going to go from this side and just kind of, like I said, pay attention when those go under there. Kind of feel for them. Anticipate them before you run over them. See how I'm looking? I'm looking to see if it's seated the way I want. Readjusting along the way. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the back. Okay, I think the best thing to do would make this long seam lay this way, because we have all of this. So let's do that. I'm just kind of adjusting it and making it lay nice and flat before I iron it down, and then just iron towards the direction the seam is laying. Okay, so there is block number 9. Block number 9 turned out really nice, nice and even. So now that I've shown you cutting and sewing, I think for block 10, I'll put it together, cut it out, put it together, and then at the end, I'll show you the 2 blocks together. Okay, so here we are. Block 9, you saw me put together. And here's block 10, you didn't see me put together. I did make some alterations to the pattern. This is supposed to be here, and this is supposed to be here. So I flipped this, I think, so that these 2 kitties weren't right on top of each other. It looks kind of strange. Well, she would have been right here, which was okay too, but I kind of wanted to put her over here. So I sneaked in a couple of kitties on that one. Turned out good. 9 and 10 in the books. We only have 2 blocks left, 11 and 12, and I think she's going to do 1 video on that, so we'll be looking forward to that. And I hope you get yours together soon too. Please send me photos of your blocks to the email address on the screen, and leave a comment below as to whether or not the sewing instructions helped you, or if you have any suggestions for me at all. I'm willing to listen to anything, any improvements I can make. So we'll see you back here real soon. Bye.